na unaua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na corona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria, na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya.
Hayawi huwa mbiu ya mgambo imelia, na kwa kawaida ikilia kuna jambo.
Mgambo uliopo hapa ni rumba kavacha, odemba na sukus.
Tutakupromoshea midundo moto ya Afrika, iwe kutoka kaskazini, kusini, magharibi na hata mashariki.
Rumba is here in your living room.
Na popote ulipo.
This is Bridge of Congo.
Nzambe ya sambe la kati, ako sambe la nani?
Right here on KBC Channel 1.
Unaita nani msee kwanza wewe?
Umeona baba yako hapa?
Mkitualipia watoto na mnaifi. Sisi vijana tutaoa wakina nani?
Sasa ukiwa kijana mimi nitaitwa nini?
Mote. Amekondiboswa. Hapana. Amefanya nini? Amemadhuna. Amemadhuna.
How can I kill myself when I'm still breathing?
Ulisema hivyo ili hiyo time tulikuwa na shida sana, ukasema tupange hiyo njama ili tupate ile pesa tuweze kujiendeleza katika maisha.
Wait a minute.
What does this number mean to you? A pack leader? A winner? Or just a number? To us, it means freshness, boldness, vibrancy and heritage. That's why at KBC Channel 1, we make it easier for you to pop up your family entertainment to a fresh, exciting and colorful bouquet.
Welcome back to the program. Time for our fast traffic link. And this morning we look at Mombasa Road. This is simply because of those ongoing roadworks there in regards to the Nairobi Expressway, which is expected to be complete by early 2022. Looked at as one of those roads that is expected to shape how Kenya will look, and specifically Nairobi. This is actually how the progress has been coming along so far, beginning all the way from JKIA through Mombasa Road, going all the way to James Gishuru along Waiyaki Way. And if you've noticed, some sections of Mombasa Road have been closed, as well as some sections of Waiyaki Way, and this is to necessitate that construction process. Remember that this process is going to be undertaken by what we call the PPP, the public-private partnership. That is what that is actually the kind of form that the government is using in terms of construction of this road. And I'm telling you in detail what this PPP it means and what it entails for Kenyans. But just right now, to track the process of how the road has been coming on very, very fast in terms of construction. Like I mentioned, it's expected to come to a complete in early 2022. That's early next year, and at least also opened up to the public. Part of what will be inclusive of in construction of these roads will also try to try to ensure they put out the different amenities. Anytime we talk about the traffic lights, traffic signals, and all of that. So right now, just a quick look on how traffic is looking like on this specific road, given the fact that some sections have been closed on this route along Mombasa Road as well as Wayaki Way. And how about we start from areas around Imara Daima as you head over to the city center. This is how it is looking like. In fact, since late last year, when this construction began, this is how Mombasa Road has been looking like for major parts of this specific route, especially as you head over to the CBD in the early morning hour and in the evening rush hour as you leave city center coming through the estates. Quite unbearable in terms of traffic, but because of that obvious reason, right now as you head over to the city center, the usual, just what you'd expect, heavy kind of gridlock there as you leave areas around Imara Daima. But that's why we are here, to try and see how best you can navigate. If you're someone who's using this specific route, and that's in terms of trying to look for better alternative routes for you, our viewers. But right now, in terms of traffic, heavy kind of gridlock there, like I mentioned, as you leave areas around Kitengela, Athi River, Imara Daima, coming all the way to the city center, or even as you go about your businesses and workstations along Mombasa Road on this specific route. This is why we are seeing that maroon color, which is a clear indicator of that. Simply means there's heavy gridlock, not moving, just at a standstill. On the other section, as you leave CBD, leaving areas around Mombasa Road as you head over to the estates there and also the outskirts of Nairobi, still heavy kind of traffic, moving at a very, very slow pace. That's why we are seeing that red color. But also, aside from the fact that there's still that ongoing Nairobi Expressway construction, Mombasa Road is one of those busy roads as well. When you look at the kind of businesses, when you look at the kind of companies around this area, not forgetting, just like one of those major roads such as Wayaki, as well as Thika Superhighway, which serves the people that come from the outskirts of Nairobi, the same is also on this specific route. Look at counties such as Mombasa, Machakos there, and the different kind of counties. So clearly that is also a very good reason as to why we'll see the kind of traffic that you're spotting this morning. Coming back to the gridlock, still the same kind of situation there as you come to the CBD. Nothing is changing. This continues all the way past Imara Daima, but looks like things are just changing a bit in between that section before you get to the city, actually not before you get to the Likoni bypass. Looks like things are changing there. That's why you're seeing that green color, which just means that there's no traffic moving at a very swift pace. The beauty is that this is actually on both lanes. On this specific one, when I'm talking about both lanes, simply means as you leave Likoni Road there through the bypass, coming through Mombasa Road before you get to Imara Daima, as well as leaving those areas, the estates there, specifically Imara Daima, coming through the same route as you head over still through Mombasa Road before you get to before you get the bypass there, as you get to branch off to Likoni. So that is what I mean when I'm talking about on both lanes on this specific section. At least on that area, we don't need to look at any alternative routes, moving at a very, very fast pace. And this is how it is looking like this morning in terms of traffic, trying to focus on Mombasa Road. We have not yet looked at any alternative routes, but we'll be doing this in the next link up segment, at least to make it easy for those using that specific route this morning, going about their businesses or any kind of activities.
All right, there you have it. So if you've not left your house, or if you've left, at least Doreen has kept you updated on what we should expect. And maybe my cameraman can just show the gentleman here. Okay, that is called David. Cameraman, director. Very good. That is David. We are going to talk about tax today. Today is the deadline for you to file your tax returns. The question is, have you filed your tax returns? And what is the importance of you doing so? If you don't, what happens? Okay, so we are here. The gentleman called David. But before then, we can just take a very short break. And when we come back, the show continues. Stick around. All right, okay. So, my director says that 2020. All right, so with me in studio, I have one gentleman called David Busaule. That name is a tongue twister, bro. It's a tongue twister. David Busaule, who is an assistant manager at Business Transformation Office under Domestic Taxes Department, KRA, right?
Yes.
I got it right. Yeah. Thank you for coming and welcome to the program. The first question is, have you filed your returns as David?
Honestly, I have not filed my returns, and
you see?
Please don't sacrifice me. The whole reason is where I work, I want to be able to see the experience of taxpayers, and every time maybe someone says the system is not up and running, I can always log in as a taxpayer and be able to confirm that is. But I'll file my return for sure.
So today is the deadline?
Yes, today is the deadline.
First of all, let me just start this conversation by asking you, what's the importance of me, or as a Kenyan, to file his tax return from your own point of perspective, the way you see it? Why?
For me, filing of returns is the tax laws, of course, require every taxpayer to file a return.
Yes.
A return for the specific source of income you're earning. So there are different types of returns for the different obligations. And from the filing of the return, it's a clear communication to KRA of of the incomes you're earning, whether it's business, whether it's employment. So that filing of return becomes a very clear communication that I'm only having employment income, or if you're filing for business income or for rental, those you communicate directly to KRA through filing a return on your sources of income. Second, apart from complying with the tax laws and on the requirement to file a return, it is important again to file a return, because it's through filing a return that if in case you're in a refund position, that the refund position can only come through filing of a return.
So the KRA will have your records?
Yes.
We'll
have your records that you had this, maybe you paid this much of taxes, or this much of taxes were withheld from you or deducted from you, and maybe you are liable to pay this much, and if whatever you are liable to pay is less than what was deducted or paid in advance on your behalf, then of course you are liable for a refund. So it's only through filing of a return that you can be able to do that. Again, filing of return is the one which filing of return allows the taxpayer to know if they are in a payable position, meaning they owe KRA some money, and maybe they need to settle it again, because at some point, depending on the sources of income you have, we may be required to still pay some taxes after the end of the tax period which you are filing for. That's very clear again. And again, on the other side of different services in the economy requires you to have a tax compliance certificate. So that compliance journey, filing of a return again, and the subsequent payment of the respective taxes allows you to be able to be issued with a tax compliance certificate, which can allow you get a job in different, especially government related jobs and other tenders and all other services where a tax compliance certificate is.
You talked about government tenders and government, because every time someone goes for an interview, first of all, there is that tax compliance certificate that is required of you. So we take these things for granted as Kenyans, right? And it's quite important for me. How, for example, now today is the deadline. How can one go ahead and file the returns? For that person who does not understand, for the first time he's going to file his or her return, how does one, file his or her return?
Okay, the filing of return is again very specific to the source of income you have. I'll start maybe with those ones who have not earned any income in 2020. For those ones, KRA will expect them to file a nil return if you didn't have if you didn't earn any taxable income in the year 2020. So of course, filing a nil return is very straightforward. Just log into iTax, go to file nil return and submit. Very straightforward for that category. The second category we have is persons with employment income only. So for those ones with employment income only, no side hustle, no other income, employment income only, quite a good number of, again, taxpayers are in that category. For those ones, we'll expect them again to log into iTax. For those, we have two ways they can file a return. They can use the option of the web-based pre-populated return. We call it the ITR for employment income only, which fetches all the information from your respective employers' pay returns, and now it's already pre-populated, and it's just for you to confirm against your P9 form if the information is correct. then you'll be allowed to capture the pension contribution and the personal relief, and it's very simple to file that return for sure, because much of the information is already pre-populated. For the other persons maybe whose employers may not have filed maybe from January to December due to one reason or another, for those ones we may require them to use the offline Excel option. So we have two options, the web-based return and now the offline Excel options. And again with the P9 form, very straightforward. Once you download the return, you just capture the details from the P9 in the Excel income tax return, confirm the tax due is correct, and everything is adding up as per your P9 form, and of course you upload the return. So that's the second major category. The third category I can say is persons with other sources of income. So those that may include taxpayers with other sources of income, maybe from business, from rental, but rental specifically the ones who are not filing the monthly one, the ones who are in the annual regime. We have other persons with earning commissions, people earning professional fees. All those now we can just say other sources of income. For them, we'll still expect them to come and declare those incomes in the return. The return has a section called the profit and loss account. They'll be able to declare the income and also claim any expenses which they incurred to generate that income. And in case there is still some taxable income, it's the one which will be brought to tax. And if there is any tax to pay, in addition to maybe some installment taxes they might have paid, or some withholding certificates they might have received during the year, again they'll be required to file a return and pay the taxes.
David, do we have Kenyans who don't pay taxes and yet they are eligible to pay taxes? People who are sneaky.
Yes. I think in every culture, and I think it's not just in Kenya, I think all over the world, we have persons who are liable to pay taxes and they are not paying taxes. And as KRA is taking a tax-based expansion and enhancing our compliance initiatives very seriously, and that we are using specific initiatives to try nab such taxpayers who we know for sure you ought to have declared these, and maybe either you filed a nil return or you declared a low amount. So those are part of our normal data-driven compliance initiatives at KRA to be able to turn around those taxpayers and of course enhance the tax base.
The taxman, you people, you're a busy lot. You're a busy lot. So what happens to those people who do not file their returns? The sneaky lots.
For sure, the cost of non-compliance is high, and for an average Kenyan, they may. When I interact with some of my friends and even other acquaintances, when you interact with them, they take not complying with taxes as a small issue, but it's quite a big issue, because when KRA now catches up with you and we have maybe to go 5 years backwards and raise those back taxes and charge you penalties and interest, then you realize it becomes a very expensive initiative to try to comply with that. And of course now we'll come and we will not just focus on 2020. If we have information or data within KRA or even within our third parties or where we suspect Victor has been operating, let's say, a business in let's say Sili from 2015 to date. When you have that information, we'll have to look backwards and see to what extent has Victor been operating such a business. And you realize now we'll come back and using the best information available to us, raise additional assessments on you, and of course they'll come with additional penalties and interest. So when you add the issue of penalties and interest in addition to the principal tax, then you realize penalties and interest is a necessary evil any taxpayer can avoid if they choose to be compliant, because principal tax is the only tax liable to you. But again, if you are not compliant, then KRA has the avenue to impose other further penalties and interest on your non-compliance, and of course it becomes very expensive to comply at the end of the day.
And that is why most people, when they hear that taxman is coming after them, they disappear.
Of course, you can disappear, but I think hiding from the taxman for the rest of your life will also be very hard. It's hard, especially with advances in technology and government government systems and basically government automating its systems across board, it will be very hard to run away from any one government agency, including KRA, because at some point you may run away from us, but there is some information required by Ministry of Lands which you still need to come to KRA. And I think at that point, with the advances in technology across government, it may be hard to hide from government.
You'll be found from your hide.
You'll be found from, there's a service you'll need, and that is the one which you'll be,
actually it will
flagged.
have to catch up with you at some point in life.
You'll have to.
The question is that you know, Kenyans, are they so much aware about the importance of filing their returns, you know, or we just wait like, you know, I didn't file my returns in 2019, 2020, and we are in 2021, nothing has happened? Do we have enough information there?
Where I sit, KRA has done a lot to create awareness. Even in this COVID era, we've capitalized so much on a lot of virtual engagements with our taxpayers, a lot of emails. Our social media platforms are very active.
I get a lot of reminding.
I know,
almost on a daily basis.
I know, at some point it's like KRA, what's wrong?
It's like it's like I get a memo every day from KRA, but I think it's a good reminder.
I think because KRA is looking at what are these avenues it can use to reach the largest population or the largest targeted population of their taxpayers. And again, our communication has to be very targeted, because using data in our systems, you are able to segregate taxpayers and we're able to know maybe this one has been filing nil returns. Again, the communication should be most likely, maybe we suspect you're still in school, then most likely the communication should be, kindly note you are supposed to file a nil return, so that we're just letting you know. For the ones with employment income, again, we remind them and we remind employers, please issue P9s to your employees, because the P9 form is very critical for persons with employment income to file their returns, and other persons with business income, other sources of income apart from employment. Again, the information is very targeted. You are required to pay some installment taxes during the year. You are required to do this and this. So that segregation is very key. And now, using that segregation of taxpayers, KRA is able to reach out to different taxpayers with different information. We've provided a lot of tutorials on filing. It's only that maybe Kenyans a lot may not know, but there are a lot of tutorials on filing, including videos, including step-by-step guides. So anyone who wishes to really comply with taxes, I think in this era, KRA has really has really done its best to push that knowledge to the taxpayer on what they need to do to comply with taxes.
What is the uptake right now as you speak? Because today is a deadline, and we expected almost every Kenyan who is supposed to file his or her return to shall have done so by end of today. Approximately, what's the uptake?
Because it's very dynamic, but I can give by around maybe give a statistic of around yesterday at around 10. At around 10, we were at about 4.5 million of returns filed for, of course, compared with last year, same date was at around 3.8. So I think there is still a good increment, there's a good increment.
Out of what particular number?
Because now our tax base, of course, we should be having we have quite a number of pins in iTax. Maybe you can say about 9 million or something, or thereabouts, or up more than that. So you realize we are still, as much as the returns are quite many, there is still much more to be done to bring more taxpayers to file returns, and especially maybe the ones who don't have any income, they believe they don't need to do anything, and I think as KRA we may need to move towards that front and ensure that is either you are filing a nil return if you don't have any other income, you are filing a proper return for the income you have, and KRA I think is working on that to enhance the numbers. So the filing on a global scale, you may realize the filing compliance may look a bit lower, but it's because a PIN is required for many other transactions in the economy, not necessarily for tax. And even, of course, some of the issues KRA is trying to look into is to try see, can we have a PIN maybe for tax purposes, and can we have just one for regulatory purpose, so that we don't, it's not taken as one one PIN for everything, yet you just needed it to do a one-off transaction, or you needed to open a bank account. No tax implication per se at that point, but so those kind of affect the numbers. But so far we still made a lot of progress since iTax came on board at around mandatory filing in iTax started in 2015, and we've seen an incremental we've seen an increase in filing rate every year, thanks to a lot of efforts in creating awareness within the organization.
Some would ask that you know, if I have a friend of mine, for example, if I have David at the desk here, can I just ask you to help me file my returns, or go to a cyber, or just do it by myself? How is it a crime to ask someone at KRA to help me file my returns?
Not a crime. As an organization, we are trying to reduce the dependency on some functionalities like filing a return on KRA employees, because now it kind of releases the resources to support the specific category who may have real struggles, because we may still need a few people to be assisted here and there. Maybe they are due to their maybe IT skills, maybe due to their literacy level. We have different taxpayers, and they could be genuine ones who really need a lot of support. But those who can be able to navigate a smartphone should be able to file a return.
Exactly.
Because if you can do stuff on your smartphone and navigate here and there, even filing of return should be possible. And it's not a crime for a KRA employee to file for your return, but we always encourage all our staff across board to be able to pass the knowledge to taxpayers, so that even if you are assisting them now, assist them as you show them how it is being done, so that maybe come next year they can now do it on their own.
You are not probably David is no longer at KRA and I need to file my returns. How will I do it? The question is, we have people who always, every financial year, they file nil returns. And KRA said, you know, we are going to we are going to cancel and, you know, cancel your PINs. How is that so? Is it supposed to be that way? A penalty?
Okay.
There are people who just file nil.
For sure, we can't rule out that some taxpayers some of our taxpayers are hiding behind filing of a nil return, even if they have some taxable income they need to declare. And as I said in the beginning, those are now KRA is having a separate initiative dealing with such taxpayers, turning nil filers to persons who are contributing now to the economy and contributing to the tax base, and of course paying taxes here and there. And of course, again, filing return, yes, filing a nil return is not a crime as long as you don't have any taxable income. But if you're having a taxable income, then it's an offense to file a nil return, yet you have taxable income. And in the event that KRA realizes that you knowingly or unknowingly omitted some information, then they will take corrective action by issuing respective assessments depending on the information within our disposal. But to encourage Kenyans, most of the taxes, and especially the one we are talking about in this season, is income tax. Income tax is a very straightforward tax, because you are not paying tax on it's a tax on the income you've made. And if really your business is in
they say that give Caesar what belongs to Caesar.
So if you've made some income, then it's only that point that you're being you are paying some taxes to KRA. Even if you've made, let's say, 1 billion of sales, and you have you have supporting expenses which are more than 1 billion, then of course you'll not pay. That message maybe needs to be taken further, because most you may realize a few Kenyans out there, they may think paying taxes is more of something eating into their business, but it's actually most of the taxes are on the income you make, and not especially the annual ones.
So many people would ask, you know, probably down there, somebody runs a kiosk. How can such a person be put on the line of filing a tax return? Or mama mboga, or, you know, motorcycle repair man out there, are they supposed to file their returns?
Yes,
because they live from hand to mouth.
Okay, in Kenya, this term hand to mouth is maybe very relative, and some people may say they're living hand to mouth, but they're living large. To them, hand to mouth is maybe they expected to make 10 million before they think like they're outside the hand to mouth. But having said that, everyone with a PIN and everyone who's earning some taxable income should file a return.
Yes.
It's the return which brings out whether you ought to pay KRA or not. And let me use the example of, let's say, someone with a kiosk in the village. He will buy some products from the wholesalers, maybe within the vicinity of where they're located. That becomes, let's say, their purchases.
Yes.
And then they will keep on selling. So to such a person, it's more about the records they keep. Because now he'll be able to know that I made 100,000. Let me even use 1 million. He may be able to know he made 1 million between January and December 2020, but maybe his purchases were made, let's say, 800,000. You realize even if that person comes and file a return, his income is already 200,000. The relief for the year may still be more than the income, the taxes on the 200,000. So he may still end up not paying. So he may have filed a return declaring the income, but he may still not end up paying any taxes because the taxable income which he has made in that year, once taxed, and the annual relief the commissioner gives to every taxpayer, you realize the relief is more than the tax payable. So and of course we have other simple taxes like the turnover tax, which we encourage all our taxpayers who are of course with a few exceptions, but the ones who are generating who are having business income and it's from 1 million to 50 million, they can take advantage of the turnover tax because it has less documentation, and you only come to file a monthly return, and we charge you on the turnover at the rate of 1%. So it's a simpler tax for the informal sector compared to this one where you have to keep the records of all your sales, all your purchases in the year for you to arrive at a certain taxable income.
The question of PIN. How will what are some of the repercussions, for example, if one doesn't file his or her return by fall of midnight tonight? The question is, are you going to give me or that person an extension, KRA?
Given the circumstances which we are in today, and of course KRA has always been KRA has been tracking the progress of how the returns are coming in. The system is stable enough. It's receiving returns in the excess of hundreds of thousands in the last few days, and you realize that stability enough. We are confident every Kenyan who wishes to file the return today will be able to file a return and declare the respective income they earn. So for having said that, so far we don't have any indication, and we may not be giving any extension because there is really no pressing reason which should push KRA to issue the extension this time, because and even last year, because again with COVID, I think most people, a good number of people are working from home. They're having flexi working hours here and there. I think it also helps in them trying to get time to file their returns.
Okay, we just need to take a break, but when we come back, this is it. So from the taxman office, they say there is no extension. If you don't file your tax by fall of midnight tonight, that's it for you, and you'll suffer the consequences. Personally, I have filed my returns, so I'm a loyal Kenyan. I am a loyal Kenyan. All right, so let's take a break, and when we come back, David, we are going to ask you the story of people say, his system imehang bana nani, system haifanyi. So what are you going to do about it? Okay, are we doing so much so that Kenyans can get to file their returns quickly and promptly, so that we move on to the next phase of life? So let's take a break, and when we come back, we're still having this conversation with David here from the Taxman office. Today we are here. We'll be right after this break.
Mutiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii.
Uko shoni yangu.
Hii pikipiki ni unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi?
18 shillings.
18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari?
Kidogo.
Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako, chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid
All right, such an insightful conversation there, but before it continues, how about we take a quick look on our roads this morning on matters traffic. You're still focusing on what is happening along Mombasa Road. That is simply because of that ongoing road project. And right now, we just want to check those alternative routes for our viewers coming from those areas to try and see how best, especially for those going about their businesses, different kind of workstations to the city center there. Let's look at one of the alternative routes, which is Likoni Road. So on this specific one, this is again for those that are not yet past the bypass there, past Likoni Road. This are actually for those ones who can use this alternative route. But if you are past this specific route, then you clearly have to perhaps make do the traffic as you head over to the CBD. But on this specific one, this is where you get to branch off. If you're living areas around Kitengela, Athi River, Imara Daima, or all the way from the outskirts of Nairobi coming to the city center, or perhaps going about your businesses, could either be in CBD or along Mombasa Road, just along this specific route. This is where you get to branch off from the bypass, get to branch off around Airtel House, all the way coming through Likoni Road. Coming through that specific route, as you head over still through Likoni Road, coming to the same route, you get to branch off to that Likoni Enterprise Road as you head over to the other side of South B, connecting in through the estates coming to the city center. You can use this as your alternative route, or better still, instead of branching off through South B, still come with the same route, which is Likoni Road on that stretch, past the roundabout, past the Likoni Enterprise roundabout, past the Likoni Lunga Lunga roundabout, coming all the way with the same stretch. Where you get to branch off is the Likoni Jogoo Road roundabout, using Jogoo Road coming all the way to the city center via the City Stadia roundabout. So you can use either the branch through South B, or still come with the same stretch past the two roundabouts heading over to the other side of Jogoo Road, where you'll just have to make do with the traffic if at all you're using this specific route, as an alternative route is around the Likoni Enterprise roundabout. This is how it is looking like. You can see the difference in colors there, the cocktail of color there, just a clear indicator of traffic beginning to slightly build up, but altogether a manageable kind of traffic. And this is why we are seeing that orange color, and hence why I was saying you can still use this as your alternative route, or still altogether still come with the same route. Instead of branching off to the other side of Enterprise, come with the same Likoni. Still where you'll have to make with a bit of traffic is around the Likoni Lunga Lunga roundabout. But also around this section, there were still some ongoing roadworks in terms of expansion of this specific route, at least also to make it easy for pedestrians and those plying this specific route. Perhaps the reason that's why we are seeing the kind of gridlock there, but at least altogether manageable kind of traffic. That's why again you're seeing that orange color. So still you can use that route coming to the CBD. This is past those two roundabouts, coming all the way with the same Likoni Road as you head over to city center via Jogoo Road. Where there's just a bit of a gridlock also is as you leave Jogoo Road, coming again with Likoni Road as you head over to the other side of Lunga Lunga, going all the way to Donholm there. That is, in fact, that's just where there's traffic. On major parts of this road, this is Likoni Road, especially in between the stretch between the bypass and the Likoni Enterprise, green all through the beauty. is that is being witnessed on both lanes of the same route. So that is why it still could serve as a very, very good alternative route. And like I mentioned, that is only specific to those that are not, those are using this route and are not yet past the bypass there. So this is how it is looking like in terms of traffic this morning. Just trying to look at one of those alternative routes there, which is the Likoni road there as an alternative route. We'll try to look at better alternative routes even as we continue to look at more of what is happening on the roads in terms of traffic.
All right, and with that, from the traffic to KRA traffic. All right, we asking yourself, have you filed your returns? Today is the deadline for you to file your returns. And of course, welcome back to the program. My name is Victor Lo. Send in your questions or comments. We have got David Buraule here, who is just, trying to help us to dissect them, to slaughter them one by one into pieces so that we can understand the real story behind you filing your returns as the deadline ends at the close of business today at midnight. So David, we were just having a conversation here, and the issue of system hitch, Wakenya, hiki tunahang bana. Is it something that deliberate, because we usually see most of the, on social media mostly, people asking themselves, why is the system hitch at the iTax system portal?
Okay, the issue of system hitch, we can't, we normally KRA does monitoring of the uptime of our systems, and there is a whole monitoring team looking to iTax and seeing it up and running, checking how many returns are coming every minute, every 10 minutes, every 30 minutes, every 1 hour. So with that monitoring, we are able to detect any system, let me say a real system downtime, because at some point, if you realize you've gone for 10 minutes or 15 and maybe no return has come in, then that's a red flag for KRA. And our ICT team will are always on standby to try resolve the issue of the system. Over the years, KRA has invested much in the infrastructure of iTax, and the system stability, we can't say we are at 100%, but the system stability has greatly improved over the years to accommodate the number of taxpayers who are coming into iTax, and of course the number of returns. And over the years, again, we've been having record numbers. Every 30th, the numbers of returns which are being filed on 30th alone are always going up. We started at a few years, maybe it was 100,000, we moved to 200, we moved to about 400,000 even as of last year. So with that system stability, yes, the system is stable, we believe it can handle any numbers which can come in today, but we can't rule out again a few instances of maybe but let me say very limited short-term downtime here and there, and maybe it's just because of very many users coming in at every minute, but what KRA has already done in the past should be able to handle the numbers. So those of our taxpayers who may be having system issues, they should just they can raise it to KRA through our social media platforms, report it immediately, so that we can be able to analyze the issue and know if it's coming from our end or if it's coming from the taxpayer's end, because again, it may be something being caused from the side of the taxpayer who is filing, and not necessarily a KRA issue on the system, but maybe this the taxpayer's network, the taxpayer's computer, as in something just being caused from the other. So it's always good to report. We report so that, but again, even before you report, as I said, we already have a monitoring team always checking iTax on every minute. But again, it's always good to report, and just for us to confirm that, is it working for us internally? Is it not working for the people outside, or is it working for all of us? Or is it working for specific persons? And we can always able to advise on the...
Because we expect today to be a crazy day.
For sure. A lot.
Yes. And somebody will say, mi tangoja mpaka midnight. Unaona saa zile watu KRA wamelala. Everybody's asleep. That is when somebody goes to the iTax portal and then they file the returns. So what if the system is not up and running? And of course, you can do it tomorrow. Can I do maybe 2-3 days later? For the person who is doing it for the first time. Yes.
Filing of returns, there is, as much as we have a due date or a deadline, there is no cutoff. It's not that we are locking the system. It's not like the way you apply for a job or a tender and the deadline is today and now after that day, if you not put in your bid. For us, filing returns is continuous. It's only that there are consequences for filing a return, an income tax return for the year 2020. Past 30th June, past midnight. So whatever needs to be done, we encourage anyone who has to file a return and maybe is listening to us, please find time and file your return depending on your income, and to avoid filing the return past the due date. But you can still file tomorrow. You can still file even a week from, but of course from 12:01. From 12:01 a.m. today, past midnight, just 1 second past midnight, the system will start imposing penalties, and it's automatic.
Good.
The moment you just come and log in, the penalty is imposed automatically. And
I think that is quite important to note, because it's quite important to know that if you've not filed your returns by midnight tonight, by the time you clock, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., the penalties will always start to accrue. And what's the level and the level of increment of each and every penalty? A day, what's the penalty? A month, what's the penalty? Because some people just go and say, you know what, okay, I'll file mine because in a time. All right. So what happens? What's the level of penalty, and how does it affect one's PIN system if you don't file your returns on time? If you're a perennial latecomer,
we have different types of penalties and interest which are charged on anyone who commits an offense relating to late filing and late payment. For late filing of income tax returns for individuals, the late filing penalty is 5% of the tax due, or 2,000, whichever is higher. So again, at some point, persons always, some of the individuals, especially in the business who are receiving business income, they always think it's 2,000. But for them, if your return is going to have a tax due of, let's say, 1 million, and you've not paid the 1 million yet, which of course you ought to have paid already before you come and file the return by the due date, then you realize for you your late filing penalty will not be 2,000, it will be 20,000. It will be rather 50,000, because it is 5% of the tax due. So that that demarcation is very important for because it's the higher of either 5% of the tax due or 2,000, whichever is higher for individual returns. For non-individual income tax returns, especially the companies who are December year ends, the partnerships who are also December year ends, they're also supposed to file their income tax return for 2020 by 30th June. For them, the penalty for the annual income tax return is 5% again of the tax due, or 20,000, whichever is higher. So again, that is a bit of filing. Those are the late filing penalties. But again, we have late payment penalties. So we have again a separate form of penalty called late payment penalty, meaning if you're filing a return which has a tax payable and you've not paid the taxes by the due date, because again the due date for paying of taxes is different from filing of returns. And, it is something most Kenyans tend to confuse again, because the deadline for payment of any tax outstanding in your return is the end of the 4th month. So you realize all these persons who are filing the return by 30th June, if you had any outstanding tax, you ought to have paid by end of April. Again, it's something which, because at some point some of our taxpayers think they are one and the same thing. So they are filing today and also they are generating a payment. That payment is already late. Good enough. It's coming in to help the government by 30th June. But you ought to know that you can avoid that late payment penalty by paying by end of the 4th month. So of course the late payment penalty for taxes, again, for now any tax obligation as per the Tax Procedures Act, it's 5%. So now coming to your question now, whether you file on 1st or on 7th or in August, the penalty will still be 5% of the tax due, or 2,000, whichever is higher for individual taxpayers, and for non-individual taxpayers 5% of the tax due, or 20,000, whichever is higher. The only issue now which comes when you take more time to comply is when you have you owe KRA some tax, you have some outstanding tax to pay from the return. Now every month there will be now an interest. So every month there will be an interest of 1%. So that is the one which can now cost a slightly difference whether you pay taxes in July or you pay in December.
Yes.
If there was some tax due to pay, then the interest will now be your outstanding tax will be increasing by 1% every month, because it's a simple interest of 1% per month.
Yes.
So if you take 50, 60 months, 100 months, then of course you'll be paying double the.
Okay. So in short, every action has a consequence.
For sure.
So the best thing to do is just rush there, get to the iTax. The portal is there for everyone.
Yes,
Every taxpayer must have an iTax, all right, system. Go there and file your tax returns today. However slow the system might be, because we expect people today to clog the system, and that is why unasikia mtu anasema, the system is slow and all that and what have you, but it's not on the side of the KRA. All right, David, you said that KRA has enough system, the servers. It's well equipped to accommodate every person, right?
For sure. KRA has invested a lot in automation in the last few years, and we are among even government agencies. KRA is way we've done a lot in automating our systems, and not just systems, but the infrastructure needed to ensure the systems are available as and when they are needed. And we aspire to always improve on that. With every filing season, we learn that we have lessons learned, and we are always working harder to make it better for the next
to improve them better. The question someone would ask is, do you usually get people complaining of erroneous kind of penalties? You go and file your tax, it's in millions, like, but 5 million, 20 million tax, how will I get? Do you usually face such kind of complaints from people?
Yes, we get complaints from taxpayers relating to erroneous debits in their ledger, erroneous penalties and interest. Now the issue of and of course KRA will always analyze a case. Every case will be analyzed on its own merit, so that we realize, was it that the taxpayer didn't understand the penalty was supposed to be this much, and maybe they have realized maybe they expected 2,000, but the penalty is 50,000 because they had a tax out, the tax due as per the return was 1 million. So we try work with them and explain the nature of the penalty first, and even at our back end, the KRA officer, whether at any of our touch points or our tax service offices, will always want to know what was the type of return the taxpayer filed, when did they file, because again we have late filing penalties, we have late payment penalties. So we need to know at what point is it a late filing penalty or is it a late payment penalty, because from my experience I've realized some taxpayers they don't understand much the late payment penalty, because they think if they file the return on time and maybe they pay and even if they pay late, they'll always expect the filing penalty but not the payment penalty. So that knowledge, working with the hand in hand with the taxpayer, we explain to them. But of course we might have erroneous penalties, and KRA already has a mechanism. Once a penalty or an interest or any decision of the taxpayer, but let me focus on penalties and interest. Once a penalty or interest is confirmed to be erroneous, KRA already has an administrative framework on which taxpayers can pursue through their tax service offices, separate from the waiver process, where they can be able to put forth sufficient evidence and explain why this penalty or interest is erroneous, and that through that process the penalties will be reversed and the interest. So there is always taxpayers, as much as they are aggrieved, they should not sit back. If they feel something is erroneous in their ledger, they can always reach out to KRA and we'll be able to guide them accordingly. If it's a genuine penalty or interest, the taxpayer will be advised to apply for a waiver, because there are waiver of those penalties and interest as is provided again in the tax laws, and depending on the mitigating factors, they'll be given a certain type of waiver. Of course, the other misconception we've seen is that taxpayers presume they should be given 100% waiver.
No.
But of course, waiver depends on the mitigating factors.
Exactly.
Someone who maybe was sick and maybe had been flown out of the country, the case will be different from someone who was trying, was just sitting tight in the office and I'm waiting for 11:55 and then that's the time you realize you've forgotten your password. You are now tensed up, and by the time you upload that return is 12.
It's 1 p.m. 1 a.m. rather. Now the question here, David, we have got feedback from people who are watching. We have got a gentleman called this is a lady called Grace Kairetu Wamwangi watching from Kayole, and we have a gentleman called Mwalimu Simani Francis Gimogi asking, how can one request for a waiver in case he or she failed to find the returns in a previous year? That is question 1. And question 2 from the same person says that what does it take and how long does it take? So question number 1 from Mwalimu Simani, how can one get one request for a waiver in case he or she failed to file the returns in a previous year?
Okay. The question is, if the return which was filed late was filed in iTax, iTax has a functionality for applying of a waiver. When you log into the taxpayer profile, you'll go to a menu called Debt and Enforcement. Then you'll proceed to request for waiver of penalties and interest. Of course, it will request for you to upload a document showing your mitigating factors, so that it will just help in the processing of the waiver. So that is if the return was filed in iTax, the waiver should also be applied in iTax, and the processing will also be done in iTax, because the front end has been linked to the back end. So once you lodge your application for waiver, the respective debt officer at your tax service office is able to receive that application, is able to view the documents, and of course he can be able to process the waiver. If the return was filed before iTax, you will be required to put in a manual waiver. So those are just, because he just said a prior period, so I didn't I didn't know exactly which year. But so if the return was before iTax, the application for waiver is manual
from the previous year. So let's assume that
before iTax, the application for waiver is manual, meaning you put a manual letter and you submit it at your respective tax service office. But if the return was filed in iTax, then the waiver application is also online.
Okay. Mwalimu Simani, I hope your question had been answered, but the second question is asking, what does it take and how long does it take?
Okay, what does it take is, what it takes for you is, because the only document we are requiring from you, let me explain the iTax bit.
Yes.
If you file your return late in iTax, the system automatically imposes the penalty, which is in your ledger. So when you go to apply for a waiver, the system will pre-populate all those penalties under that respective obligation. It will allow you to upload the reason, the waiver letter, which shows the reasons explaining to the commissioner why you filed late. It will help in determining the amount of waiver you actually qualify. And that is basically, to me, it's only the letter you require, because that is the only upload you're requiring to upload in the system. Because the other, of course, you require your PIN and password to log into iTax, but the other documentation you need is just the waiver letter to upload.
Okay.
And how long again may depend on different factors, because it may depend on different factors, but your waiver should be within 3 months to 6 months. You should be getting a response on I'm not saying it should take 3 months, but at least within that period,
you should have found
at least you need to know if you need to know if you are liable or not, because you may not be getting 100% waiver, even maybe for some scenarios, maybe you may get a 50% waiver. So you ought to be told you've processed your 50%, but the other 50% is payable by you, and of course you make plans to
very well. That is Mwalimu watching all the way from Vihiga. I hope your question has been answered. We have another gentleman called George Sooli. George Sooli says that I'm unable to file mine. How do you amend your personal details? Okay. And we have another person, is called Major Kevin Rasta. Okay. Says that, what if you find out that KRA owes you while filing the return? Do they refund you?
Okay, let's go. Let's put the refund one towards the end.
Towards the end. Okay, let's start with
let's go with the amending of how to
your personal details.
Yeah.
I'm unable to file mine. How do you amend your personal details? This is from George Soli.
I may presume maybe he wants to amend the email so that he can get the password. But iTax allows you to amend your PIN details.
Yes.
Most of the PIN details can be amended, and some even are auto-approved by the system. As long as you have your PIN and password, you can always log in, amend your email address, you can amend your phone number, you can amend where you stay, maybe the city and the county you've been staying, maybe you've moved to Mombasa. All those details can be amended. You can amend the employer details. These are for individuals. You can amend even business income details. So that is completely online. Certain few amendments might require an approval from KRA, but most of them are auto-approved by the system. And for him, I may presume it's maybe something to do with an email for him to get a password. But in case you can't log into iTax due to one reason or another, let me give this example. You don't remember your iTax password.
Yes.
You don't have access to the email which is linked to iTax, because even if you use the forgot password option, the password will still be sent to the erroneous email which you don't have access. For such taxpayers, we encourage them to liaise with our call center through email. They can scan their original ID to call center, and of course maybe indicate their PIN and the correct email address to be. So some amendments can be done from the back end, but of course KRA will rely on sufficient identification document, because we don't want someone to amend Victor's account, David to put my email in Victor's account, then Victor come and ask who did the amendments. I have never requested for change of email. So if you can't do it from your end, KRA through our call center and our social media platforms, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, you can always reach out to our teams, provide them with the original scanned identification document, whether it's a national ID or an alien ID or a passport, depending on which document you use to get a PIN. And of course, they can always make certain amendments also on your behalf.
There's another lady here. Yes, continue.
No, now let's go to the refund before.
There's that question has two people.
Okay.
One called Jenna Tieno from Migori asking, okay, so when do KRA pay refunds to a taxpayer? I mean, okay, you're telling me to file my returns. Fine, I have filed my returns. So how soon will I get my refunds? My refunds?
Yes,
two people asking that question.
Every time in this season, refund is an emotive tends to be an emotive subject, because there is this the public believes maybe refunds are not being paid at they presume maybe refunds are not being paid at a faster rate as they wish. The refund process it's a process which starts by the taxpayer filing the return, as I said, even some of the benefits of filing a return. Once your return brings out a refund position, you are required now to lodge a refund.
Yes.
Because again, now there's always a disconnect again between, because some taxpayers may have filed a return with a refund position, but they have not applied for a refund.
Yes.
So KRA has not even started looking into your refund, but of course you personally believe you already have a refund, but you've not lodged a refund with KRA. So if once you've lodged the refund with KRA, the refund goes through different processes. You'll be required to upload certain supporting documentation, because we also need to differentiate. We also need to do away with the risk that you might have filled your return wrongly. Maybe you captured the wrong taxable income. You realize that one can also put you in a refund. So at that point, the analysis will be done, and according to the documentation, the refund will start being processed. If they realize there were some issues with maybe how you filed the return, the refund team will reach out to the taxpayer and advise them to amend the return. And of course, within the law, KRA is supposed to pay refunds within 90 days of the application. But again, there is much which happens behind that, because there are other issues where KRA can process refunds, but maybe due to one reason or another, we don't have enough funds to pay refunds. So it's not the same account, which because people always look at KRA, we receive all the money, so we can just dish out the refund. So there's always a process which goes around that process. But KRA so far of late, it has really worked hard to do that, and people are being paid different, because there's a time even I went to the KRA page on Facebook, and I think they just asked persons, tell us if you've ever received a refund, and we also got very random responses that I was paid. So refunds are actually paid, but of course within certain allocations which KRA has to pay the respective refunds.
There's another gentleman here who is also asking that his company was fined 20,000 shillings, and that is in 2019, and to date he's not received the waiver.
2019.
And he also did a letter. So what happens in this scenario?
I believe he applied in ITAX, because if he applied in ITAX around 2019, there are some administrative issues which happened within KRA, and it affected the processing of refunds, but we are glad to report that the processing of not refunds, sorry, it's waiver. Yes, waiver. Some processes affected the processing of waivers, but we are glad to report the processing of waivers resumed, and he can I don't know where he's located, but he can always reach out to KRA through any of our social media platforms or call center, just follow up on the refund, and the call center can reach out to the not refund, sorry, waiver, for the waiver. They are following up on the waiver, and if he's closer to their station, they can also just try do a follow-up and know where the progress is. Because for sure 2019, even where there were some delays in processing of waivers, we believe the first in first out should the older ones should be processed, even as you're also looking at the current ones. So you can reach out through any of KRA contacts, or if he's closer to his tax service office without
in Nairobi, we have KRA tax office at along Mombasa Road.
Yeah, we have a KRA tax service office at Samia.
Samia, yes.
That is east and south of Nairobi. We have a KRA tax service office at CBC, next to Radisson Blue. That is west of Nairobi. Also, the medium taxpayers office is there, the Nairobi region. And then we have also north of Nairobi on 14th floor Times Tower, and I think first floor also Times Tower. And also we have the large taxpayers office in the Ushuru Pension Plaza in Westlands.
All right. So the question is, for first-time employees, who should file a return on behalf of the other? Is it an employee or an employer?
Both have different obligations. An employer who has employed anyone is required by the law to file the pay-as-you-earn returns.
Yes.
So the process actually starts with the employer, because if let's say David gets employed at KBC today, then it's the responsibility of KBC to start filing the pay returns and declare David as one of the employees, let's say from the June 2021 pay return. Now they'll continue doing that, but now come 2022, David now as an individual employee will also be required to file their individual return now. Because now what the employer does, he deducts pay as you earn from the employer, from the employee rather. But now once the year has come to an end, the employee will be required to file a return and declare that employment income together with any other income they might have incurred, they might have earned in the year. So it's both. They are not filing the same return. One is filing of course a pay return, and the individual employee is also required to come and file the individual income tax return. Right. It might relate almost to the same income, but there are different responsibilities at this point.
For example, let me just speak for in this kind of scenario, most people lost their jobs, and you have got your personal PIN number, and you just lose your job and say, Mimi, I'm going back to the village. So 30th is here, you've not filed your return. So what happens to such people who they don't have any other income and they need to file their returns? So what happens to such kind of category of people?
Yes, because the first category of anyone who didn't receive any income, let's again with the respective period, let's say 2020. Anyone who didn't receive any income in 2020, whether you were jobless, whether you are a student, whether you are any reason could be, maybe you are being supported by someone else. all those persons are required to file a nil return.
Yes.
They can still also file a nil return, even if they're in the village. If they have a smartphone, they can download the KRA M-Service app, log in and file a nil return. So the M-Service app can also allow you to easily file a nil return from the comfort of wherever you are, whether you are in the village, deep. Yes. I believe there is network for sure, even for the... So I think, but everyone at the end of the day should file a return. And I think that's the message KRA is putting across. Everyone must file a return for the respective obligation they have, by the respective due date of that obligation. So whether you don't have income, file a nil return. If you have employment income, file the return declaring employment income. If you have other business income, file the return declaring that business income. If you have both employment and business income, file a return declaring both of them. I think that is the message to all taxpayers.
David, at this particular point, let me declare that we need to take a break.
Oh, okay. It has been...
let's take a break. Let's just take just relax a bit.
Okay.
Even you as a viewer, as you ponder how you are going to file your return, so that when you come back, we are going to, towards the tail end of this, and then David is going to answer some of your questions that you're asking on social media, even as we bring this discussion to a close. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii.
Uko shwani yangu.
Hii pikipiki ni, unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi?
18 shillings.
18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari?
Kidogo.
Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako, chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Our legends, your legends, and now they're back on your screen.
There's nowhere like home after 31 years. What a feeling.
Karibu kwa taarifa zetu za leo. Mimi ni Badi Mohsin.
Bringing you news you can trust.
Kuungana nasi kwenye taarifa zetu za humu nchini, ugaibuni na hata kwenye safu za spoti.
Join us every Saturday on KBC Darubini and KBC Channel 1 News as we bring you comprehensive news coverage presented by the trailblazers of newscasting in Kenya.
Mwenda Tesi na Omo, Rejeni Ngamani.
The Legends News Edition on KBC Channel 1 every Saturday.
As a righteous Lord and Master stretches out a helping hand, the sins of the Father are visited from all.
I know there's certain things I usually ask for, like having success and never worry about paper. Choose Rastafari. You're serving the Lord, your Creator. Up your hand, hold it up high. We know that we win the fight. Girl, and we always gonna sing together, play together. Girl, and we always gonna ride the weather, come whatever. Girl, and we always gonna face the tide, love get high.
I'm walking on the streets of Konza Technopolis. Yes, you got it right. The African Silicon Savannah is slowly but surely taking shape. But the question is this: what do we need to do to accelerate the progress of Konza?
The project is taking shape. As you can see, the Konza complex is up and the roads are ongoing construction and the project is becoming a reality.
This week on Inside Government, we talked to Kotida Chief Executive Officer engineer John Tanui on the progress of Konza and the future of the African Silicon Savannah right here on KBC Channel 1.
What does this number mean to you? A pack leader? A winner? Or just a number? To us, it means freshness, boldness, vibrancy and heritage. That's why at KBC Channel 1, we make it easier for you to pop up your family entertainment to a fresh, exciting and colorful bouquet.
Minutes the top of the hour. This is still our focus this morning, so let's just try and see how things are looking like, at least as of now, in terms of traffic. Still focusing on what is happening along Mombasa Road, given that that is our focus this morning. At least on that alternative route which you were checking earlier, nothing has changed there. Still looking very good, moving at a very swift pace. This is along Likoni Road as you leave the bypass there. Like I had mentioned earlier, this only serves for those that are not yet past the bypass as you get to branch off to Likoni Road. But leaving that area or leaving that road, let's just see how it is looking like past the bypass or past Likoni Road as you come to the city center. Remember that also some sections of this road have been closed, as well as those along Wayaki Way, and this is to necessitate that construction of the Nairobi Expressway, which comes all the way from JKIA, that's along Mombasa Road, going all the way past the same route up until James Gishuru along Wayaki Way. This is why some sections of Wayaki Way as well as Mombasa Road have been closed to necessitate that, because also what they're trying to beat is that 2022 deadline when it was said that this road is supposed, in terms of construction, is supposed to come to a complete. So as I was mentioning to you earlier, in terms of the public-private partnership and what exactly it entails and what it means, since this is one of those roads that is being undertaken under that particular form, what it means is that the company that has been mandated to construct this road will finance, ensure they construct and also maintain that road. So when it comes to paying back, that is where Kenyans come in a system we call the toll fee. I know you've heard a bit about the toll fee, and this question still remains: how much will Kenyans pay to use this specific route? So that toll fee over time is what will go into payment of the money that was used in financing this project. And quite a number of government projects right now, especially those pertaining to the roads, are taking that kind of shape, the public-private kind of form in terms of construction, especially mostly on roads. So this, at least in terms of progress, it's really coming along well. So just very quickly, in like a minute or so, try and see how it's looking like this morning past the bypass there as you head over to the city center. Not that bad. Where you'll have to make do with that traffic if you're past Likoni Road is as you head over to Bunyala Road. In fact, this is one of those sections where it had been closed for a week or so, again to necessitate that construction. Right now, in terms of traffic, heavy kind of gridlock there, hence that maroon color, which is a clear indicator of that. But again, just like Thika Superhighway, this remains one of those roads that we'll continue to keep an eye on up until we see that construction process coming to a close, as it was mentioned, by early 2022.
Good one. Thank you, Doreen. The discussion is still on. We are still talking about tax. You know, even in the Bible says that give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Very true. All right. So it's you and I. We have to pay taxes. Just briefly, David, and of course you're still watching Good Morning Kenya. Today, this is the viewpoint, and we are going straight into the view to help you understand the importance of you filing your returns and some of those pertinent questions and issues that you think is affecting you as a taxpayer. It is your right to know every little detail that you need to know about your taxes, because you work for that money, and once you pay that tax, then you need to know where your money goes. So in a very simple term, why is it important for anybody to file a return, tax return, and how is it important to the government? Okay? Yes.
Why is important to, at an individual, from an individual perspective, why is important to file a return is to comply with the law. The law is the guiding principle that everyone, every taxpayer with a PIN needs to file a return. So it's important to comply with that aspect of the law. But again, filing a return, as I said in the beginning, is you clearly communicate to KRA on the types and sources of income you have. And of course, if you don't have any income, again, filing a nil return communicates that directly to KRA that you didn't have any income. So once you've done the filing of return, it takes you to the next step. The return determines the tax payable, if any, what you owe KRA or what KRA owes you. So if you owe KRA, of course you are required to pay.
Yes.
If KRA owes you, then maybe you are in a refund position. Then it's the other way where KRA needs to look into your refund, and at some point, once it has been processed, you are liable to be paid the refund. So from the individual perspective, that's important. And of course, many other compliance initiatives are tied to filing returns and payment of taxes. And I had mentioned about, again, the tax compliance certificate. To the government, filing of a return, of course, the government comes at the, even for the sake of statistics, it's good for the government just to know how many people are employed, how many people are declaring other. It may not be 100% correct, maybe because other person may not be declaring the correct information, but it's just good to know in these tax base, which maybe you're having like maybe 10 million or so, how many people are doing declaring employment income returns, how many are filing nil returns, how many are filing other sources returns for other business income or other sources of income apart from employment. It helps the government to know even how their individual taxpayers are doing on that front. But again, it comes to now the revenue aspect, because government, KRA is mandated by government to collect revenue. And of course, we only collect revenue from taxpayers. And much of that revenue comes from filing of returns. Because again, it's the return which brings out the revenue to be paid by a taxpayer. And of course, to the government, when you file your return on time and you pay your taxes on time, you're helping your government to provide services to the common man.
David, there's a lady called Lydia. Lydia says that she's not received her refund, in a period of 12 months. She's not received her refund. What happens in this situation?
Oh, yeah, 12 months, quite a long time. I'm encouraged Lydia to, from wherever they are, because again, we're not sure where they're located, but refunds is a centralized function. I'm encouraged they can call KRA, or they can do a follow-up email through the call center. Requesting for feedback on the refund, and of course someone at the call center or any one of our officers at any of our social media platforms, they can be able to escalate the issue to refunds, and they should be able to get a response on maybe it has been processed, maybe KRA is awaiting allocation to clear maybe some certain. So we'll be able to know at that point at exactly where the maybe even there's an email maybe which was sent for requesting for documents and maybe she didn't receive it. So they're quite we may be able to know what has really happened between, because you need to provide supporting documentation before a refund can be
absolutely. Still looking at the feedback, there's a gentleman called Saddam Solomon saying, hi, what should I do since I didn't file my returns last year? I'm a nil filer. And then he says that, do they impose penalty?
Yes, Saddam, unfortunately, if you didn't file your return last year, I believe the one for last year was the previous one. Obviously, let me try to put it in perspective. If you, let's assume you didn't file the 2019 return by 30th June 2020, at that point, you are liable to a late filing penalty. So even if you come and file today, whether it's a nil or unemployment income or whichever type of return, you will still be imposed the late filing penalty for 2019. But you can, the 2021 is not late. So Saddam, you can file the 2019 right now and also file the 2021, and you'll only be imposed penalty on the 2019. If you don't do it tomorrow or past midnight, now you'll have 2 penalties.
2 penalties. So Saddam Solomon, bro, chap, all right? Okay, another one called Timo Kipkore. Timo asks, what's this issue called deregistration / cancellation of tax obligation? All right?
I think around sometime in May, the Commissioner Domestic Taxes issued a public notice notifying certain type of VAT registered taxpayers of her intention to deregister or cancel their VAT obligation.
Yeah.
The tax laws already have allowed, given the Commissioner sufficient powers to manage the taxpayer register in a way she deems fit, of course, to enhance compliance. And yes, so there was a 1 month notice, and there was a 1 month notice. Contrary to other previous deactivations, we've always been doing it. You just wake up and you realize that it's gone. But at least this one, there was sufficient notice to the affected public. So the whole reason about VAT deregistration, it's one of the initiatives to enhance VAT compliance, whereby we've been having a lot of we've been having some of our taxpayers claiming input tax in their VAT returns from these taxpayers who are filing nil returns, or even they are not filing VAT returns. And because if you understand how VAT works, if I sell to you, Victor, I'm supposed to declare that as a sale in my return, then allows you to claim the input, which is the tax I've charged you. But now we are having people, you claiming, but it is being some of that input tax is being tied to David, who is not filing a VAT return, or even is filing a nil return, and of course it hurts it affects the VAT revenue because because there is no corresponding output to the input tax. So with that, it was it's just one of the many initiatives KRA is undertaking to enhance VAT compliance, and I think many more measures will be coming for that. So it was deemed possible if this person is deemed not to be trading. Yes, because if you're filing nil for like 2 years, then it seems like maybe you're not trading for sure. Or if you are a VAT non-filer, also it could be you're not trading, or even it's an erroneous obligation. And that's why the Commissioner deemed it possible to deregister these VAT. We did register the PINs per se, we only deregistered the VAT obligations for these PINs. So the PIN is still active, but the VAT obligation is cancelled. And the affected taxpayers who may wish to come back to maybe they were hoping for some business and the business has finally come through, they can always pursue the KRA has issued reactivation guidelines for taxpayers, and they can always pursue that to have their VAT obligation reactivated.
Another question here called Baba Gracie. Baba Gracie is asking, I'm wondering if maybe employed, let's say civil servant, and of course you do file your returns, then you use your PIN to purchase a land, start a business, etc. Are you supposed to file twice for income at employment and another maybe from your rental income? This is Baba Gracie. Baba Gracie, this is quite... were you a teacher?
It's quite,
or are you a teacher?
Yes, elaborated.
It's quite simple and, yes, all right.
Okay, the filing of... a taxpayer files a return for a tax period. It's not necessarily for a certain source of income. It's for a tax period. So there's only one return for 2020 for individuals. So me and you, when you're coming to file, we are filing a return for 2020.
Yes.
But that return allows you to declare employment income. It allows you to declare business income. It even allows you to declare rental income. It allows you to declare farming income, because KRA looks at an individual or at a taxpayer or from a global perspective rather than from your specified sources of income. So for Baba Gracie, if let's say he has a rental and business and employment, he will come and declare the employment income details from the employer. He'll also indicate on the Excel return that he has other income apart from employment. The return will open up the respective sheets where he'll now come and capture the income from business, rental, and any other income apart from employment. And of course, it will put all the income together, and it will now calculate tax and determine whether, depending maybe on the income you've made, whether you are in a tax payable position or maybe you are in a tax refund position. So we are looking at you from a global perspective. All your incomes are consolidated together in the return, but of course declared separately. The return has the different sections for declaring different sources of income.
Yes.
And for rental, you only come to declare rental income in the annual return if the same rental income has not been declared in the monthly rental income, because rental income we have two regimes.
Yes.
We have the those landlords who are receiving rental income, residential rental income from 288,000 to about 15 million in a year. For those ones, they are required to be the monthly rental income regime. So if rental income, so the only rental income you're required to declare in the annual return is either a rising commercial rent, which is not liable to the monthly rental income regime, or if you've opted not to be the monthly rental income regime. So it's very clear to demarcate that for the issue of landlord, because you don't want them to come bring again the same rental income they have paid monthly to the annual return.
David, there's a gentleman called Mato. Mato says that he's watching from Meru, but then I think he's just becoming mischievous. He's asking that kwa nini KRA wasiseme wa Kenya hakuna kufile returns na hakuna kulipa tax days? Mato, this can't happen, bro. No. Another one called Jason Jason Oruko says that he's watching from Milimani in Kitale. Jason, thank you for watching.
Close home.
Yes. Okay. So he's saying that that is close home. Probably he'll send salamu at the tail end of this one to guys in Kitale. Thank you, Jason Oruko from Kitale. Now, there's a question another gentleman asked that perhaps I own a business and then I want to sell it to you. And in the process, I did not file returns for the company. So who takes the responsibility? The seller or the buyer? Will you? Yes.
You're selling the business as a going concern?
Yes, I'm selling my business to you and I didn't file my returns. So who will file the returns? Me or you as a new owner?
Of course, that business has to be not for an individual, because an individual, a sole proprietor, the proprietor and the business are one and the same thing. So it's very hard to sell the sole proprietor business and remain with your individual pin. But if it's a non-individual, if you're selling a business on a going concern, then the person buying the business will have to assume all the requirements relating to compliance. So if some returns have not been filed, I believe they will have already done due diligence by the time they were buying that business from you, and they should have known that these are the returns to be filed, these are the penalties, these are the interest, these are the outstanding taxes. Part of the due diligence should be on the filing on the tax compliance of the business. So when it's sold to, if I sell a business to you, XYZ Limited, and you are buying it, of course it's a company and you're taking over everything, then you'll assume the new responsibilities relating to, including the past sins.
Wow.
Because you are now the owner of the business.
Okay. Okay. So that
you ought to have done due diligence by the time you're buying that business, so that you know exactly
do a background check.
Yeah, you should.
Exactly. Another gentleman called Nefat says, where do we pay these penalties?
Where?
Yes, where do we pay these penalties?
We are happy. At least there is someone who wants to pay.
Who's ready to pay
rather than wait. I think maybe he has realized that.
Nefat.
Nefat.
This is your question.
Nefat, paying penalties is easy. If the returns were filed late in iTax, already the penalty is imposed in the ledger. You just need to log into iTax and you go to the payments menu, select the obligation, and of course select the period and the payment type as a self-assessment, and you'll be able to see your penalty, and you can easily generate a payment slip, and you can choose to pay through mobile money, or you can choose to pay through the bank, or you can even choose to pay through credit card, carriers, all those options available to you. But at least you must first generate the payment slip. So it is very straightforward. Just log into iTax, go to payments, and select the obligation and generate the payments for the penalty.
Okay, Nefat, there you have it. There's another Edwin Suarez Kemboi says that already filed. Good one, Edwin. Good. Edwin, thank you. Now you are a loyal Kenyan. That is awesome. I as we bring this discussion to a close, what would you tell that Kenyan, in 30 seconds, the importance and what somebody should know about filing your returns today before clock of midnight tonight, in 30 seconds?
Okay, I first thank all Kenyans who have filed their returns. Asante sana, and thank you being a patriotic Kenyan. For the ones who are yet to file returns, please log into iTax and file the proper return depending on your sources of income. For all those with no taxable income, please, you're required to file a nil return. Don't sit back and say I didn't have any income, I was not employed. For the ones with employment income and other sources of income, again, please log into iTax and file returns. For the ones who have forgotten their password, you can always go to the iTax portal at itax.kra.go.ke and reset your password using the forgot password option and log in and file your returns.
All right.
And please do it by midnight.
Yes.
Unless you really want to pay us something more apart from the return.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. We have been having that discussion, and thank you so much for your feedback, your questions. Of course, it's about if you're filing returns, this is the last day, and you just need to do that due diligence and make sure that you don't be a late comer. There is a penalty. We've been speaking to David Busaule, who is the Assistant Manager, Business Transformation Office, Domestic Taxes Department at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Thank you so much. We are taking a break, but when we come back, we will be going straight to the Court of Appeal, where the BBI case still continues through to Friday. So after this, we are going to the Court of Appeal. My name is Victor Lo. Have a good morning.
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii. Uko shwani yangu. Hii pikipiki ni unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari? Kidogo. Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako, chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account, weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano, TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Hayawi huwa mbiu ya mgambo imelia, na kwa kawaida ikilia kuna jambo.
Mgambo uliopo hapa ni rumba kavacha, odemba na sukus.
Tutakupromoshea midundo motomoto ya Afrika, iwe kutoka kaskazini, kusini, magharibi na hata mashariki.
Rumba is here in your living room.
Na popote ulipo.
This is Bridge of a Congo.
Nzambe ya sambe la kati, ako sambe la nani?
Right here on KBC Channel 1.
To get Skizatune Hail Mary, dial star 811 star 963 hash.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
To get Hail Mary, dial star 811 star 963 hash, star 811 star 963 hash.
Get the VIP access to the best shows on KBC Channel 1. We have something different, something special to spice you up. Get ready for new, exciting and captivating dramas. Movies. Love the smell. Comedy.
I went to the Popos.
Drama.
Will assault the Queen in my house, in my presence?
News, sports, and so much more. Do the things that make you happy on KBC Channel 1.
Katika juhudi za kuhimiza mabadiliko ya tabia, Baraza la Kitaifa la Kudhibiti Ugonjwa wa Ukimwi likishirikiana na shirika la utangazaji la Kenya KBC litafanya vikao mubashara na wataalamu mbalimbali kutoka kaunti za Bomet na Meru siku ya Jumanne na Makueni siku ya Jumatano kuangazia masuala muhimu kwenye vita dhidi ya janga la ukimwi katika jamii.
This week on the season premiere of Africa's hottest new show, Surura, we take you on a safari in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Get your adrenaline pumping and revving to go, and if that's not enough, we take you on a tour of what could possibly be the most photographed home in Africa. It's simply inspiring. That's all coming right up on Surura. Find your adventure, only on KBC.
What does this number mean to you? A pack leader? A winner? Or just a number? To us, it means freshness, boldness, vibrancy and heritage. That's why at KBC Channel 1, we make it easier for you to pop up your family entertainment to a fresh, exciting and colorful bouquet.
Yesterday, learned counsel James Orengo explained, which is true, that the structure of our constitution starts with what Kenyans believe to be fundamental. From chapter 1 to, it is arranged in that manner. But the judges, in their 9, exclude the most fundamental. But my lords, again, they don't stop there. The court then proceeds to the third angle, and that is in volume 1, page 345. Especially the finding number 4. The court then, again, in the same vein, then comes to a different and third conclusion, that actually the basic structure includes the preamble, includes all the 18 chapters and the 6 schedules. So that, my lords, even if we were to accept, for argument's sake, that the basic structure doctrine applies in Kenya, one